Today, Kevin Hincks at the SIBO, host of Fast Market. Kev, so we're under some pressure this morning, which is obviously not a great start, but I don't know. It would be a nice change of pace if we could be down at the open and up at the close.
Oliver, that's a real interesting point to start your show, because in my career, what I've noticed is the exhaustion of corrections are when you open down and finish higher.
There you go.
Right? And there's one of the mindsets going into a day like today where you've got some news out, you've got some risk out there, but remember, if you're bullish or looking at this market as a buying opportunity, this correction, you've got a pretty good 2-day stretch here of Jensen Huang talking today about, the Blackwell Ultra and all the new things at this conference, and then you've got Jerome Powell tomorrow. Two people that typically deliver positive news to the markets over time. So you're right, this soft open is definitely worth watching. As you see some of the key names, you've got the Google Alphabet deal, you've got Tesla down pre-market. So this is a market certainly worth watching at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. Now let's get to the economic data that came out. Housing starts. Lower interest rates maybe starting to show up in some of the housing starts. Remember, a housing start is when you actually start the foundation. It's registered as a housing start. 1.5 million new housing starts. That's higher than last month, 1.36. That was revised to 1.35, and higher than the consensus at 1.38. Permits, right about in line with consensus, 1.45 million, slightly less than 1.48 a month ago. Import-export prices, slightly higher on the imports, up 0.4 and 2% year over year. Imports, we had a big jump in export prices last month, up 1.3%. This one comes in up just 0.1%. Export year over year, 2.1%. Again, down from 2.7 with that big jump. So we'll get industrial production here in about 8 minutes, Oliver. But I think there's a lot of news going on ahead of a Fed meeting. Jensen Huang speaking today. One concerning thing, watch Canada's CPI. There's a reason why it came in hot, but it came in extremely hot. They've been lowering rates, and this number, even though it can be talked away because they had a sale tax holiday for the first part of last month, some big numbers here. They're looking at 1.1% month over month on headline and 0.9 on core. So careful there with some Canadian CPI. Besides that, Oliver, I think the big news the next 2 days is Jensen Huang speaking today, Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow.
Okay. Generally, someone who is helpful to the markets, to your point on Mr. Powell. So it seems like that's our opportunity. There's not a ton else that seems to disturb what could be a peaceful week. It seems we're getting a little bit inoculated to some of the tariff stuff at this point. It also seems like geopolitically there's news, but nothing terribly surprising. It seems like we're still kind of hoping for Ukraine and Russia maybe to come to the table, and generally assuming turmoil in the Middle East. So I'm not sure what's new here.
Yeah, two wars going on right now. Big phone call today between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. Hopefully that will lead to, I think you've got two scenarios, Oliver. I think you're leading to a ceasefire in one scenario, and the only other way that other scenario in Gaza with Israel is a surrender, I think. So you're looking at a ceasefire and maybe some type of surrender coming up down the road, because Israel and Gaza, they seem no closer to any stoppage. But there is hope, I think, with Vladimir Putin and Trump speaking today for a little geopolitics as well. So we'll keep watching that, Oliver.
Okay. In terms of watching the price action today, Kev, yesterday the Russell small caps did really well. Tech was a bit of a laggard. The rest of the world stocks continued to do well. That's what's on my eye today, because if the money's going to keep going to China, Europe, and other places instead, then we still have some headwinds in terms of money flows.
Yeah, I mean, this narrative of buy China, buy Europe, sell U.S., Boy, it sounds real popular. It just doesn't seem like a good way to make money, in my opinion, Oliver. I don't know. We'll watch this play out over time, but I'd rather buy U.S. down, between 7.7 and 10% than Europe and China right now, Oliver. So we'll see how that plays out as well. I like the fact that the last 2 days we've traded up and finished up on the day. A pretty choppy session yesterday that finished strong. I think today's another key day for this market. If there's dip buyers, if people are satisfied with the recent correction, then we'll see some dip buying here for sure, Oliver.
All right. Well, generally, statistically, you're right about buying the U.S., but you're also a card-carrying patriot, Mr. Hincks, so might be a little bit of bias in there. But we appreciate that. Thanks, Kevin Hincks.